Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Snake Pit Podcast, your one and only stop for all things entertainment, all things homegrown. Coming to you out of Toledo, Ohio, I'm your host, Jake Pilewski. You can follow us at jakepilewski.com. That's Pilewski. The Snake Pit. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so ecstatic beyond words to be joined by none other than the equally crazy as I, Mr. Ryan Roth.
I was about to say, man, we are way too much alike to be saying anything other than this may go interesting.
Well, it's a good thing that we're not on actual,
I know,
legitimate, corporate radio, because
the FCC would have me in a box, dude. So I'm going to try and church this up a little bit.
I mean, you can do what you can. I'm not playing it on Sunday school or anything like that.
We're good then. We're good.
And it all goes. And we're not live, too.
Yeah.
So. We are here at Veritas, which is a cool spot. You said you've been here a couple times.
I have. I actually covered Andrew a couple times when he's been out of town on tour and taking a couple of his shows here.
Yeah.
I love the place, man. It's a classy joint.
Talking
a little
about
too classy for guys like me.
Hey, no, that's the thing too, is that they're welcoming to everybody. And the cool thing is when you look around, like they have Broken Color, which is Greg Zappone that did all the interior design, and then you have Graphite Design and Build and Design, which is right downtown here. They did all the murals on the wall, so it's literally.
I love the feel of the place.
It's all local.
It's warm.
Yeah. Well, so aside from that, speaking of local, speaking of awesome,
man,
Ryan Roth, you're doing so many cool things. You're part of the Sideshow. Well, you started the Sideshow.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into that. Ryan Roth and the Sideshow. You'll catch them around town playing some just really fun, but rustic and really at home, kind of like good feeling kind of tunes that I can get into because that's my bread and butter and a heartbeat. It's relatable, and they're coming out with an album.
Yeah,
lots of good things to talk about tonight. Before we get into that, I'm going to go right into the first 5, which I give to the musicians that come on here.
All right.
First 5 questions. Get to know.
Let's do this.
Get to know the side behind the crazy that I know and that we appreciate about each other.
No, absolutely.
The first 5. So, first question of the first 5.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first CD/album/cassette/record, full album that you bought with your own money? Not that you had,
bought 2 on the same day.
2 on the same day?
Bought the.
What kind of job were you working? You could buy 2 on the same day?
My dad gave me some money. And
cool.
While I was going, he knew I was headed down to Toledo. I'm from Wasion, Ohio. Pig's ass, Ohio, as like my dad used to say. My old man did NASCAR work for years, and every time he had to fly somebody in, like Dale Sr.'s engine building team, because he was a gasket man, so he'd fly these NASCAR dudes in, but they'd fly into Detroit, and when he'd have to tell them where Wasion was, he said, head south to Toledo, take a left, take a right, and just go straight until you find the pig's ass, and that is Wasion, Ohio.
I've never heard it that way, but I'm going to program my GPS to say it that way.
So when we would come down to Toledo, that was kind of a big deal, for us as kids, and we got to go to the mall, and so I remember we were telling him we was going to the record store, and he's like, well, here's some money, pick up a couple records. So I picked up a vinyl, and it was Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Cool.
Picked up a cassette. It was Beastie Boys' License to Ill. So, which is funny, because the music I play.
Yeah, but
it's so funny because my musical influences are not that. You know what I mean? I mean, as much as they are, they really aren't. But it's like that at that time period, that's what was on the radio. That's what, dude, I'm still a Beastie fan.
Right.
I'm still a Michael fan. And
good music and good attitude.
That's it. And you're not going to find better music than that for their genres. You know? And so, those were my first 2.
Well, that's cool you can recognize that, because you're right on. Because me personally, I mean, somebody says, what kind of music do you love? And I said, I just like anything that's good and pure and solid in what it does, and it owns what it does.
Exactly.
It's honest about what it does.
Exactly.
And that's cool. Yeah, because there's, awesome. So what was then? Man, I can't. The way this is starting off, man. What was your first concert?
Bob Dylan and Steve Earle.
Now that makes
1988, right there. At the old
Sports Arena.
Sports Arena.
Okay. God rest its soul.
My dad had won 2 tickets over a radio call. What's Bob Dylan's real birth name? Hell, at the age of 2, I knew that. I could have answered that. You know what I mean? So
if you could pronounce it,
if you could pronounce it at that age. But so he won 2 tickets. So my mom actually took me to my first concert, and it was Steve Earle opening up for Dylan. And I remember at the time, I mean, that's 88 Dylan. You know what I mean? That's I'm a Dylan man. I got his tattoo on my arm. I've seen the man live 30 times.
But it's not 68 Dylan.
It's not 68 Dylan. It ain't even 95,
right.
2000,
but it's still Dylan.
But it's still Dylan, you know. But Steve Earle blew me the hell away that night.
Yeah.
To see a guy playing a mandolin through amplifiers with a distortion pedal, playing Copperhead Road, still with his long hair, you know, just in his prime, right before his downfall. You know what I mean? And that was like a real cool thing for me, was to be in the stadium. I was 11 years old and was at a Dylan and Steve Earle show. And my mom laughs at me all the time because I remember looking over at her during the lighter bit. You know, back when, before cell phones, everybody pulled out their lighters.
For years and years and years
and years. And years, you know. I still pull out. Whenever I see phones at concerts, I pull out my lighter, man. I'm an old school dude. But, like, I remember looking over at her and being almost like, Mom, don't do that. You know, don't do that. And she looked at him, and she just looked at me and was like, that's what you do. That's what you do at these shows. And I was like, okay. And I remember looking over and just seeing literally a pitch black room just lit up like Christmas while Dylan's doing his thing. And it just, that's why I do what I do today.
That's cool.
You know what I mean?
That's so
it's
cool.
moments like those. But that's the influence my parents had on me at the same time. So.
Well, and talk about an honest artist. I mean, he was one of the original. Ooh. I mean, he came out of a time that nobody was writing their own material to begin with.
It was all bubblegum pop music.
Yeah.
You know,
and there was some really well-written stuff, but you had a factory of
quote
writers.
That represents that is his quote to Dylan, or Dylan's quote to John Lennon.
Yeah.
Love your music, but it's all bubblegum pop shit. It don't mean nothing. And that's when you see that switch in the Beatles music, where it started to get a little more serious. It wasn't Love, Love Me Do. You know, it was Helter Skelter.
And they did the Let Me Do so well, but then they really opened up more than anybody.
When they opened up the mind to what you can actually use this medium as. It doesn't have to be pop music. And look, I'll shake my butt to all the pop music out there as much as I hate doing it. My kids come home and they bring it into the house and we're all shaking to it. It's got its place.
Yeah.
But they showed you that you could expand on that and be real with your emotions, real with your songwriting, real with everything that's going on. And that broke that barrier.
Yeah.
You know, and to me that's what's great. So to have that be my first concert, I love that looking back now.
That's
saying,
impressive.
You know, thank God my parents took me to that show. You know, she could have taken anybody. She took me because she knew growing up. I mean, I was 2 listening to Dylan records. I knew the lyrics to his song before I knew who half my family was.
Right. And how old were you when you went to the concert?
11 at that time.
That's awesome.
And at that point, I've got 11 years of listening to Dylan.
How many 5th or 6th graders can say that was their first, experience? That's nuts.
No, that's cool, and that's why I take my kids to stuff now and try and include them in as much music as I can, just because
you're still developing. I mean,
absolutely.
That's awesome. And going along with that, I mean, as they started expanding, Dylan with the Beatles, I mean. Mm-hmm. All the music started doing that. I mean, that's why you went from the early
Mellencamp, Tom Petty, Springsteen. Hell, you don't have half these
well, just in a 10-year block, see what happened from the early '60s to the late '60s. Mm-hmm. How much it expanded, in a decade. Let alone what it did then after the fact.
Yeah, the natural progression of radio through the '50s, '60s, and then when you've got that, the technology of radio is now catching up, and it's in everybody's homes, and it's in their cars, and it's in everything else. And at that same time, you got these people coming on who are doing it differently than it had been done before. You know? It wasn't the Carters. It wasn't the, all of a sudden Johnny's now the one. It's that second. I don't even want to say second because you can trace that back until we're at Stonehenge beating on drums.
But, exactly.
It's the next progression, and when technology caught up, that's when it exploded.
Yeah.
And music exploded, and it was in everybody's house. It was in everybody's home, and that's the voice they were hearing,
Yeah.
And they were saying something different. They were being honest. They were looking at our government going, what are you doing? Why are we having these policies? Why are we in the Cuban war crisis? Why are we in these things? Questions I ask today. On my Facebook page. We just had a great conversation today, me and another musician. And, they were aware of what was going on, and they realized the platform, and that, look, and I'm not just talking politically, emotionally. And, dude, Blood on the Tracks is a deep, deep, I just got burned in a relationship kind of album, you know what I mean? And so is Blonde on Blonde, that kind of stuff. And
I'm going to hold on to that point because that point is actually, I think, a really good discussion that you and I need to have, which is in regards of putting both emotional and political, because sometimes they're one and the same, because that's what we see every day. I'm going to hold that till after the first 5, because I want to pick your brain on that, because I think that's wonderful. Yes. Oh, okay. So third question. No, because I was getting so amped up in it, and I was like, we're going to get away from the first 5.
Dude, I was getting so into it. In, because I am a tangent dude. I will run my mouth until somebody stops it. So.
I love it. No, it's wonderful. Third question, then. What would be your dream duet or collaboration? And that can be songwriting, performing, whether you're opening, whether you're closing. Doesn't matter what kind of collaboration. What would be your ideal? I know.
That's a dirty question. What's number 4? Which of my 3 kids do I love the best? You know what I mean? Come on, man. Which guy would I work with?
Well, now you brought it up, maybe it'll be the first 6 questions.
Right. That's a tough one, honestly, because there's that, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? Yeah. Obviously, even at this point in Dylan's life and my life. Okay, am I talking 68 Dylan, or am I talking the guys where they are right now?
Right.
Dude, would I love to sit with Willie Nelson in a room? Would I love to sit with Dylan? Yeah. Would I love to sit with just about anybody that I listen to, from, hell, Head in the Heart to Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros? And yeah. But honestly, David Bromberg would probably have to be the one guy that I would love to just sit down and not only play some of the songs that I do, but just listen to him firsthand and sit in a room and listening to him tell the stories. Dude, he's one of the finest pickers in this country. The man now trades rare Stradivarius violins, you know what I mean? And it's like, he was a studio musician, so he's played on all these great records. So he has this just like huge wealth of knowledge and, and experience. And he was a road musician. He backed Jerry Jeff Walker for years, and he's got all these stories. So it'd be really cool just to spend a night with him and hear him play, hell, I Like to Sleep Late in the Morning, or his version of Delia, where it's slow and sweet, or even some of the, I don't know, just random stuff off of Bandit in a Bathing Suit. He's got such a wealth of experience and knowledge. The guy is brilliant minded, so he not only can relate stuff to who's in front of him, he still does it his way, and he's always been himself. He backed away from music because he got burnt out for a while, and then fell back in love with it, so now he's back doing it. And like, he'd be one of those guys that'd be real cool just to share an evening with, have a few drinks and tell some stories. And I've been listening to him my whole life. My dad told me a story one time. He was playing down in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my mom and dad had gone down there to see him, like right when they had got to. I mean, we're talking, I was born 77, so 76. 78, somewhere in there. My mom's going to correct me when she hears this, but
that's what mothers do, though.
They do, and she has to correct me a lot.
Right. I feel it.
But my dad used to tell me the story about how they had played the show, and they get into this big jam at the end of the night, and the way this bar was set up, there was them round tables and square tables, like up to the stage. It was a high stage, and the tables were right at stage height, and they were all packed in there so tight that he's playing, and the band's behind him, and he's got his whole like New Orleans jazz band just cooking, and he unplugs his guitar and walks on the tables out the front door and leaves. Band stays there and plays.
Is he still playing?
He was still playing the whole time, but he was unplugged, and they didn't have wireless back at that time, but he's still cooking, just
Why
being
not?
a showman.
Yeah.
And they said he hopped off the table, walked out the bar. He said the band kept cooking. He said by the time the band got done, he was at the next bar, like a couple places down and drinking. I don't know if that story's true, but that's what I heard growing up. And I'm like, that's a way to end a show.
I feel like that should be part of my New Year's resolution.
Dude, you need to end a show like that. That's what I'm saying. But no, like, I heard the stories about him, and I listened to his music, and it transcends place and time.
Yeah. True, yeah.
It literally takes you into another place and time. And to me, that's cool. When you can totally, for 3.5 minutes to 7 minutes, and 12 minutes for some of these songs, if you can just by what you're portraying through your music can transform place and time and put somebody in that place where they're seeing it just as much as they're hearing it, and they're feeling it as much as they're hearing it, what greater thing is that? You know what I mean?
True,
and that's why I like his music, because that's what it does. It tells a story, and it pulls you into that story. So hell yeah, I'd love to play a show with that dude.
That's cool.
Even at this age, because he's still doing it.
And that's not a name that you often hear anyway, which is
no.
what
So
I really
anybody
like
listening
about
to this
that.
right now needs to YouTube David Bromberg, or just hell, send me a message and I'll shoot you some YouTube links. Like, I'm that kind of guy. Anybody ask me for music, dude, I'll shoot him stuff all day. So,
ladies and gentlemen, that's your invitation.
that's your invitation.
Go
man.
ahead
I'm
and
all
add,
about spreading the love.
Add Ryan
Find
Roth
me on Facebook. I'm not on my phone enough, apparently.
Hey, I'm with you. I just got my first smartphone for the. Literally, what was it, like, 3-4 months ago, maybe? I got my smartphone, if that. I had a flip phone, mind you, for the past 10 years.
I miss my flip phone.
Me too.
Flip
kind
phone.
of.
Flip phone.
Flip phone.
Yeah, there we
I
go.
know. I had somebody call the other day a flip head. And I was like, I think that's something completely different. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, number four question. Number 4. What's your most embarrassing / humbling experience as a performer?
I fell off the suitcase.
The suitcase that you're playing the kick on?
I sit on a suitcase.
Yeah, tell them. Yeah.
Okay, in the sideshow, I'm too freaking cheap to pay a drummer. And
or you're going for a specific sound.
Or
whichever
I'm a Shaky
way.
Graves fan, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Andrew Ellis. Andrew's my boy.
He's
I
fantastic.
owe so much to that dude and Mary. But whatever.
I think we all do.
Yeah, no, seriously. He paved the way for guys like us in this town. But like, I sit on his kit and I love it, but it's different. We play different footed and
right.
Yeah. And I love the suitcase idea. And it goes into the whole sideshow.
It's a street performer.
Yeah, it's the street performer look. It's the fact that I can just throw it down and kick on it. I flip a foot pedal, so I'm playing it with my heel instead of my toes.
Which I think is fascinating.
I just pound the crap out of it, and I've broken the thing 4 times. It's on life support even to this day. But,
Get it questioned through TSA when you're traveling?
Yeah. But I was actually at the Wasion homecoming in front of hundreds and hundreds of people, like right as the parade's letting out, they start me. And I have never, like, I rock on it. You've seen the show.
Oh, yeah.
I'm animated. And I've never lost that control, that center balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happened, but I lost it. And I was really going, and I was trying to prove a point back home where I'm from,
Right.
like, oh, yeah.
What's that adrenaline,
Yeah, and I pushed it a little hard, and I went back. And, I caught myself before I totally took everything out, but it definitely, I've never stopped my flow.
Right.
Honestly, like, as I'm doing
no, I
all
can
that,
tell. I
and
can
it's
tell.
playing guitar and drums.
I would
and
think you were a
singing
drummer
at the same time.
Yeah.
No, I can't play drums to save my
Well,
life.
I know, but looking,
I'm like a
you never
three-legged
break
dog
it.
chasing a rabbit on a drum kit.
But you never break it, and that's what I mean.
No, and that's
Yeah.
it. Once you get locked into that, you don't break it.
That's it.
It just becomes second nature. As a guitar player, most of us are tapping our feet anyway. All I did was put something underneath it that makes sound. That's just a trigger at that point.
Correct.
And so that didn't change anything about even the way I played. But, man, when I went over, I stopped the whole thing and lost the groove and lost everything and just looked up. And I told him, I said, look, in 2 years of doing this and in a couple hundred of shows, and never once did it. And, of course, here I do it now, but never done it since. But there you go. There's during a show, I don't get embarrassed much. I don't have a tooth, for God's sakes.
Hey, I'm with you. Mine's in the back, though. Mine's in the back.
I'm missing those too. You just can't see them. But I don't get embarrassed easily. I can't take myself too seriously.
Well, that's the thing.
And so I don't get embarrassed. So, yeah, but falling on my ass during a show was not that cool, I'll tell you that.
But yeah, like you say, you keep going. So I mean, that's respectable in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a true performer because we've seen, and that's what bothers me sometimes, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. For the second podcast with you, I assume that'll happen sooner than later. That's you see a lot of these people getting paid this big money on these big labels to go out, and they make the slightest mistake and they freeze or they completely bomb it, and you're just like,
keep going.
What are you doing? Like. People appreciate the faults. People appreciate the imperfection.
I've screwed up way too much in my life to try and be perfect in my music.
Like, you can't be sloppy. There's a difference between being sloppy and making a mistake and keep going. A huge difference.
We honestly, we'll talk about it in a minute, but that's how we model our
humanity,
our band, and our music, and how we just approach life. We've got A and B. Right. Everything else, we're going to push it as hard as we can. It's going to weeble. It's going to wobble.
But sometimes you're going to land on genius, and sometimes you're going to land in imperfection. But in the meantime, you're making some cool stuff that people can relate to because nobody's perfect, and that's more human.
I'd rather see and be seen in the honest. My music, I want to see you in your room just playing it. That's how I want to hear it. If you hit a wrong note, dude, we all hit wrong notes. You get a little flat on a song, it happens. For instance, I'm a huge Adele fan. But I've seen her how many times now in footage where she'll go through a song and hit a wrong note and stop the song and be like, that was a shit note. I'm starting over. And they start it back over, and I'm just like, you were that. Like, and I can appreciate the dedication to the craft, and you want it perfect for these people every time. I appreciate that. But in that moment, once it happens, 90% of these people don't even catch.
Well, especially because to give credit to her, as you already have, she's actually an amazing singer. And when you're singing with vibrato, you're actually fluttering back and forth between notes anyway.
Her off is still better than me on.
If you got...
You know what I mean? Come on.
That's rich. I appreciate that. All right, so number 5, and then we'll just get into
we'll just
whatever. As a performer, as a songwriter, what pushes your buttons?
What gets me going?
What gets you going, but also what ticks you off when it comes to either people listening to you or the way people listen to music in general, or just like everything you do as an artist. What pushes your buttons?
Damn you.
I know, you could lay it down.
I could go so many different ways because of so many different things that I
say
do.
Whatever you want to say. I'm not going to cut you for commercial Ryan Seacrest style or anything.
No, I know. I'm really trying to give you an honest, simplified answer.
Yeah.
And that's hard. Artistically speaking, the only thing that bothers me is that people think there's bad art. That somebody's music isn't as good as somebody else's, that somebody's painting isn't as good as somebody else's, that somebody's poetry isn't as good as somebody else's, that there's a tier there. Art in itself is personal. You do it for personal reasons. If you don't, that's not art. That's production. Pop bands are production.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is that going along with that? I was going to ask you that.
Pop bands are production.
There is a fine line.
I get why they're done. I get the industry. I get the business of
Focus
it. I get
groups.
how it sits. I get how if you play the same 3 chord progressions and throw ooh, ooh, and everybody can sing it, and everybody. So then when one hits, 10 will hit. I get that.
Yeah.
What bothers me is that the rest of it is judged in the way that it's judged, because it's personal. It's personal to the artist, and it's personal to the people who love it and respect it and buy into it and feel it. It always bothers me when artists in music, painting, clay, ice, whatever, all the things I've been lucky enough to get my hands on and be around other people in those same areas, is when it gets to the point where it's like, oh, I'm better than this dude or this. Well, this dude may not have some skill, but the passion, the artistry, the thought process behind the pieces and what each piece means and what each sculpture means and what each painting means isn't diminished by that skill. So that kind of gets to me. Outside of that, it's really the institution.
Yeah.
You know, and that those that are actually truly creating music don't get heard. Why? Because of money. Why? Because they don't even have the funds to buy the ads in the magazines that they need just to get their names heard. They don't have the money. Dude, you were just in the studio with us, brother. You know what it costs to cut a record.
Yeah.
And we did it on the cheap side.
Right. And it still costs.
And it still costs a lot of money. It ain't cheap to put out. Even with technology and all the people doing little things in their house and stuff like that.
Doesn't matter.
To get a good record, it takes a lot of money. Even to get it heard past your friends list on Facebook.
Right.
That first line.
And that's assuming all your friends are even going to pay attention.
Or even going to pay attention to it, pick it up, or even see it on their feed because of the way Facebook works.
And it's not a picture of a cat, and it's not, a baby announcement.
So all that stuff gets buried media-wise, and what gets pushed to the front is who's got the money and who's being sponsored by big money people.
Yeah.
So you don't have... And that's what's important about the local music scenes, and even more importantly than the local scenes, the regional scenes, to where we're sitting in downtown Toledo, Ohio right now. We need to tie into Detroit and Ann Arbor and Knoxville and Nashville and get that Rust Belt and Chicago even to Erie, Pennsylvania, and like that's the triangle we play, or the square cocked that we play.
Whatever
you know what I mean?
is.
However you want to look at this, man. But. Like, we need to have better united regional scenes.
Correct.
To help those of us get past that first tier of media. Past that first tier. You can't send your record to a label.
Why do you think I'm sitting right here right now, though? Because I realized that the reason that Seattle happened in the early 90s...
Dude, I have used that as an example 1,000 times.
And it's perfect because...
Seattle doesn't have a scene until 10 bands, 5 that were really good, and a couple radio stations.
And you can't use marketing as a reason because guess what? MTV came out in the early 80s. Right. Was it late 70s, early 80s? MTV came out.
Early 80s.
MTV had already been going for a decade.
Yeah.
All these guys started playing together and just doing honest music.
Well, what was real about it?
And they were playing in each other's bands. They were promoting each other, and it was a brotherhood.
Exactly.
And everybody promoted each other, and it was
rising tides lift all ships.
And then all of a sudden these big labels go, "What the hell's going on here?
What's going on over here?" And that's what I'm thinking to myself now. And
we got to work together
in every
locally
aspect,
and then regionally.
Yeah. And that's why I moved up to Milford, Michigan for a few months, and that's why I go up there and connect with the musicians up there. I love those guys. There are some talented dudes up there. They ain't getting heard. They're doing it like we are doing down here.
Yeah.
People know who we are around here, but beyond that tier, nobody hears about it. But if we unite and we promote each other and we do shows with each other, hey, all of a sudden we get cross promotion. And that's what I'm trying to do in the studio that we just opened up. And, promote that. As much as it is local, it starts local. Those seeds start small and they grow and they get bigger. And I've been in this town long enough to see those seeds grow and to see those places like Veritas and all these, and Dirty Bird
popping up one after another.
And now they're just all over down here. Now those seeds have started and they're growing and they're growing and bigger and bigger. And it's happening in other towns. And with the explosion of breweries up in Michigan, there's great places to play up there. And we need to get this cross, regional scene. We need to not be satisfied with playing the same 5 bars every week. Get out there, go get yourself heard. Get on the road for a weekend out of the month or 2 weekends out of the month. Go to Cleveland.
Take
to
a pay
Detroit.
cut. Take a pay cut because get your music
Play
heard.
for the same rate.
Right.
Eat the cost of gas.
That's what I mean. Play for the same rate. Eat the cost of gas.
I'll tell you right now, we make
hotel.
a killing in Geneva by the lake.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful little community over there. Ashtabula County, so it's a little rough and rowdy. But
I'm sure they love the sideshow.
But they do. And we have just as many people following us now from there as we do from back here in Toledo.
Yeah.
And it's there. All you have to do is take it. That's another pet peeve of mine while we're at it with the arts and musicians, is people down in the 419 music scene. Really? You want to tell me we don't have a scene? Look me in the eye and tell me that, because I will rattle off a whole bunch of motherfuckers who are really, really good doing
Exactly.
original music in this town. Whether or not you and your friends are coming to it doesn't change the fact that it's here. Just because you don't like the venues it's happening in, just because it ain't hardcore, WIOT, classic rock, hardcore, look, that doesn't mean there ain't a good scene. There's a good scene here.
It's the best it's been, in my opinion. And
Decades.
Absolutely.
I played in a cover band in town with a bunch of great musicians in town for a couple years, and I loved it. But you could only play in 5 bars, Kip's bars. You know what I mean? You know how it was run back in the day, and there just wasn't the opportunity there.
Or I played in those original bands, and we'd play
Frankie's, the main event.
Frankie's headliners, and there's nothing against them, but we'd play and we'd get 45 minutes, and sometimes owe the door money because we didn't sell enough tickets. And I was like, where's the promoter at?
No, exactly,
and there's been some good promoters over the years. There has been,
but at the same time, you need places like that, so that some of these young bucks coming in and bands who are just cutting their teeth, and are still learning how to be performers, because it's not just the music, it's also about it is a total package on what you're selling.
Correct.
And that's where it bothers me, is it's like, well, nobody's following me. Well, honestly, I just opened up a studio gallery that's asking people to promote their own music and their original music and their merchandise, and I will sell it for you.
Yeah.
And I will give you that money.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is help you promote and grow this regional scene.
Correct.
I had 4 people drop off stuff.
Yeah.
If you ain't going to do the work.
Speaking of which, I do have some merch finally for you. I finally do.
We were talking about this.
I told you I was having some coming. Now I do.
I know. And I love that. And we will sell the crap out of it.
But guess who told me, though? Guess who gave me that advice?
Who?
Best advice I've gotten from any musician in town was about 1.5 to 2 years ago. Went to Andrew Ellis' gig, and he said, man, if you're going to try to do, or he said, brother. He said, brother.
Yeah.
He said, if you're going to try to make it in this town or anywhere, you need retail. He's like, I don't care what it is. But you have your name on it.
Yep.
You have to have your work out there. He's like, record your albums. He's like, record your albums. He's like, but make some dumb merchandise. He's like, I don't care what it is. He's like, make sure your name's on it, and get yourself out there. Is because you know what? He's like, Nike and all these other big names. They do it, and they'll sell absolute shit. But their name's out there, and they have these commercials that nobody cares about. But they pop up, and it builds recognition, brand recognition.
No, it's brand recognition.
Nobody knows how to advertise anymore, and that's the thing. But, if people aren't completely buying every one of your singles, then get other ways to get your name out there.
And that's it. Like, there's people who are like, well, nobody likes us, nobody follows us. Okay, so give me your CD. Oh, well, we don't got one. We just play these live shows. Okay, well, then get your CD.
Make it happen.
You got to have
Spend
something.
it to make it.
You can't book a lot of places without sending them your press kit, without sending them your CD or a demo or good video of you. There are tiers to this. This is no different than any other business, than any other thing. Look, you want a meal? You can eat some shit out the dumpster.
Right.
You can go to McDonald's.
Right.
You can go to a fancy restaurant. You can go to a 5-star joint. There are tiers that has cost, that has
there's steps.
Sacrifice.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And
now more than ever, because you'll agree, the industry is bigger than it ever has been. There's less money because of that, because now music is so accessible, which is awesome and awful at the same time, because
and
now
to sell
anybody
your downloadable rights, you have to give so much of a percent. There's not money there. We haven't figured out how to get that power back yet.
We don't have to go to Nashville, LA, or New York anymore.
Nashville's my other pet peeve.
We don't have to do that anymore.
I don't want to trash Nashville yet.
We don't have to do that anymore, but we can do it from where we're born and raised. But at the same time, so can everybody else. So what's separating you from the other guys? The other guys are lazy, and if you're not lazy, then you're make something for yourself.
Yep. You'll either fall by the wayside because you don't have the drive.
Yeah.
And truthfully, the business mind to do it. Yes, we're musicians, we're artists.
But now we have to be businessmen.
But now you have to be a businessman.
We're blue collar more than ever.
No, and that's it. And the problem is, and honestly, most of us don't have business minds.
Correct.
You know me. I roll with the handler.
Yeah.
I don't have a business mind. She takes those ideas and makes them a reality.
Yeah.
She does that behind the scenes work that makes the sideshow go down the track. You know what I mean? If I don't have somebody helping me with that mind, we don't go. We don't progress. We don't get bigger.
Right.
We don't. we don't do that, you know? And so that's it. You've got to have that mindset now to be able to not only just say, yeah, well, we're this band and we got good music.
Right.
Well, okay.
Who cares? So does a million others.
So does every Tom, Dick, and Harry who's ever picked up a Squire Strat.
So going along with it, I want to talk about being a man of action. There's 2 things you've done recently. Talk about taking action. Aside from, booking and playing all over like you're talking, because it's good to spread your name out.
Right.
But first and foremost, let's talk about the album you're cutting. You're cutting an album with Brett Dennison, who's, I think, one of the greatest minds in this entire area, if not the region. And he's got a studio, Firefly Studios. And you guys, not only did you just cut an album recently of original material, but you cut it live. And not many people are even doing that anymore. Dude. You cut it live in a studio.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
First of all, I have to say that what we do musically isn't conventional. Because of our influences and because of how we just approach music and who we are as people and all that, it's different. I can't track music. I can't. The emotion singing behind it isn't there. My guitar playing's different. The emotion, the raw energy, and everything behind the music changes the moment you track it. So I wanted to record a live record. I wanted that basement tape sound, truthfully. Like, to me, that warm, it's just us in the house at practice, but tight.
Well, you feel it all together.
I want people to, when they hear it with the headphones on or they hear it in the car, I want it to feel
what you felt.
Like they're in the room with us. And so I had searched and asked everybody in town, where are you recording, who around here is doing it, who do I go, and Christ, I must have asked Andrew 10 times, and I asked all these guys and Smithers and, because he had done some work, and Jessica, with Right Angles and those guys. And, I stumbled upon Firefly, and it was Jess who finally sent me, she literally started a group message with me and him and was like, hey, meet this dude. You meet this dude. You two need to talk about this.
She's a go-getter, so props to her for that.
She's a go-getter, and she's been hearing about how this record's going to be for a year now, And so we made the appointment to talk to Brett, and I went in there, and the moment I opened the door to this house, the moment we opened the door to the house, awkward par for beer ordering.
Yeah, I love it.
But the moment I walked in that front door, and at the time there were 2 drum kits set up in that living room, and I turned to the left, and there's a bedroom that's turned into a recording booth, and I started looking around, and every corner I turn is just, people, I cannot explain this to you. This room is musician heaven.
And that's it. It's not like you've got these gaudy, iridescent mirrors and all this
decked
crazy.
Out, man. It's
decked out with instruments.
Yeah, and it is all. We could talk about that room that you sat in and played that piano track on, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But how many different instruments were in that room? 150, 200 different.
A lot of which I didn't know existed.
Keyboards. Yeah. And so you're looking around. Thank you, dear.
Thanks, love.
So you're walking around this place, and all of a sudden you start cutting back to when you were a kid watching The Last Waltz, and you see Danko at the board, and he's listening to Sip the Wine, and he does the slow hat pull, and you kind of look at that board, and you see Danko doing that there, and you see, even in a meeting with the guy, how this will work. And then you talk to him, and you realize that Brett has a different way of approaching the recording process, an art form that has been lost since the 80s in solid state and track recording. Our initial goal was to do it on tape.
Yeah.
Was to bounce, to record.
True analog.
To record, you've seen all of his analog equipment in there. The whole thing's run through analog equipment, bounced then into the computer. So our goal was then from there, because I've recorded 3 albums before, never done them with them because I wasn't happy with them. Why? Because they sounded compressed. They sounded solid state. They sounded just tinny, fake.
Like what you didn't want.
Right.
And, certain artists, it works for them. But, you know what you want, and you hear it in your head as a songwriter.
No, absolutely. And it just never was my vision. So to have that, and then you start hearing about like him talking about the projects he's worked on and what he would like to do. And then we both sat there in an hour and realized that what he wanted to do was what I wanted to do. And to me, that was that instant connection between the two of us, that we knew no matter what ended up coming out of this, it was going to be pretty cool, you know, and it's going to be hard for me to record anywhere else, truthfully.
Well, it sounds like you met your producer.
And that's it, because it feels like home. It is a home.
And he does it so instantly, because not only is he really humbling, really nice, but like he's I think he's almost dangerously humble for how good he is. He's got the mind and the heart.
With the way both of us are, we were both avoiding both saying that, wow, we just made a good record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like, at one point we had to look at each other and go, damn, we just made a good record.
Right.
But back to what you were saying, we did cut that thing totally differently. And
well, it was like in 48 to 72 hours, and that's unheard of anymore.
We took 3 days, 23 hours of booked studio time, of which after I subtracted extracurricular activities, cigarettes, and just general bullshitting, joking, we actually cut the record in 14 hours.
Yeah.
Who does that? For 6 members in a band, 9 totally once... Actually, it is 9 totally.
Well,
once
because
we added a couple girls.
Because you have three actual members, correct?
The sideshow is actually...
4, depending on the harmonica.
I don't even know what my band is.
Yeah.
It's 3/4 of a band. There are 2 one of us.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful part of the sideshow. And I'll pause briefly just to explain the sideshow.
Yeah. Go ahead.
To the people.
That's what it's about.
And the way it started was this jackass on a suitcase, pounding it out, being a drummer.
Was that Jackass you?
It was.
Okay.
That's my nickname now. Sonny has given me the nickname Jackass, and some of the kids in the household refer to me now as, hey, Jackass. It's true. We try not to let them do it publicly. It gets a little awkward then. But, it was just me doing my thing.
Yeah.
And I joined like that songwriter competition at Martini and Newsies a couple years back.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing damn well that wasn't my clique.
Right.
And I'm not saying it was biased or
nothing wrong with it.
Because I love those people. But at the same time,
it's different.
Those of us who they didn't know, we knew it was going to be these 3 or 4 at the end. And we just kind of wanted to get to know who the crowd was. We were new. We didn't know anybody.
Right.
So I do this solo thing. And this dude is up there. This bald-headed, bearded freak is up there doing a sound that I ain't never heard. It's a mix of Tom Waits and, hell, I don't even know, but he's dropping these lyrics that are just, nobody's writing like this. And I go out and smoke a cigarette with Sonny, and we're out there alone, and I'm thinking to myself, damn, that motherfucker right there was good. I like that. I need to know who this dude is. Mm-hmm. 30 seconds later, he walks outside. And he looks at me and he says, "You were Roth?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You from Wasion?" I said, "Who's your sister?" And he goes, "No, man. My name's Craig James Ackerman. I'm from Wasion. I was your ball boy when you were in high school." And I'm like all of a sudden it's like,
wow.
Holy shit, dude.
Wow.
I haven't seen you in a million years. How you doing, Scoob?
Yeah.
And it was just really cool. And we started talking. He had been down in Columbus and just moved back and didn't know anybody. But I fell in love with his songwriting and the way he approaches music. And he's a Butterfield, Bloomfield.
Yeah.
Just dirty blues, honest lyrics, and a voice that is so wrong that it's right. You know what I mean? I love his voice. I love harmonizing with it. I just love the way he...
Which are hard to find nowadays.
No, and that's it, man. And... I had a gig in this little winery, and I'm like, hey, you want to come sit in? You play your stuff, I'll play my stuff. We'll kind of feel each other out, backing each other out. And, dude, we had the best time. And from there, it started as the duo. And we had played shows. And at that point, it really did start out Ryan Roth and the Sideshow because we didn't know what to call it at that point.
Well, I like it, though. It already puts like kind of an aura to it.
Yeah, and that whole how it became the sideshow thing is a whole other long story, but I've always felt like a circus freak behind the cage.
Well, yeah.
I ain't the prettiest motherfucker. I ain't the tightest. I ain't the cleanest. I ain't the pretty voice. I ain't no
typically entertaining.
I ain't that $40 ticket, but I'm that $2 sideshow that's real, that's visceral.
I do want to hear you cover a Bublé song. Not use that.
I will now. No, I will not. I mean, I like him. I got one of his records. I ain't gonna lie.
Right. No, I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be
cool. But like, so we started as the two of us, and we were opening up for Joey Vasquez one night out at the Bryan Bowling Alley. Man, you gotta love it, man. We love playing bowling alleys, and we came across this dude Sam Dell out of Bryan, Ohio, and dude, within minutes, we were just like, dude, we like you. You're a dude just like us. You are more than welcome. And this dude's a banjo, mando, guitar player.
Is that Mr. Mustache?
Dude, yeah.
That's what I call him.
He's our Flavor Flav, brother. He's our washboard player. He's quickly becoming the voice of the band because I'm not allowed to talk in between songs. I've been told not to.
So have I, and I just turned my mic up.
Yeah. But it's her who tells me that.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But so I'll take her warning. That was actually the greatest advice I got from Mary and Andrew.
Oh, okay.
That's why Andrew doesn't talk, because Mary told him, hey, don't talk in between songs.
That's
you get
hilarious.
yourself in trouble. So I took that as gospel. But so we picked up Sam, but meanwhile, this is even a longer story, but I've got some connections up to Milford, Michigan. I've been taking trips up there. One night I'm doing an open mic night, and I meet a harmonica player up there. And he's blowing harp with this dude that's playing before me. And I was blown away by the harmonica player, not the guy playing or singing.
Right, yeah.
And I see this guy, and I walk up to him, and as I'm being called up to go play, I'm walking past him, and his harp's just sitting there, and I look at him, and I say, hey, you want to blow? And he goes, huh? And I go, harps, let's go. And grabbed him by his shirt and pulled him up there with me.
Nice.
And we didn't even know each other's names. Nothing.
It's beautiful.
First time we'd ever seen each other. And he goes, what key you in? I say, I don't know. Dude, truthfully, I don't know what I'm doing. I just do it. I'm a Ray Charles man. I just do what I'm going to make it do what it do, baby. And I'm like, I don't know. Here's the chord progression.
Yeah.
You tell me as a harp player what key you actually need. Are you cross? Are you straight? What, depending on how you play, that could go either way. And he's like, what's the chord progression? I say, here it goes. He looks at me and says, okay. And we laid down 4 or 5 songs together, and when I was done, I just looked at him, because he pushed me and I pushed him, and we just kept pushing it farther and farther. And, dude, I fell in love with the brother. You know what I mean? And we just clicked musically. So when, at the same time, I got this other thing going, we just put all of it together. And he does his own solo thing. Craig does his solo thing. Sam does his solo thing.
Oh, I didn't know all that.
Yeah, we all play solo.
Nice.
And Sam and Craig now go off and do duo shows together. And the sideshow isn't a band as much as it's a mindset, as much as it's an idea, as much as it's a revolving group of musicians. Because you know as well as I do, you can go in some bars with a duo, you can go some with a trio, you can go some with a full band, you can play festivals with a 10, 12, tap, whatever piece.
Yeah.
And that's what we've built, that idea, almost like the Head and the Heart and Edward Sharpe, where you can go into a studio with the trio and the quartet and lay down the songs appropriately and full and have them perfect. But then when the money's there, when the stage is there, when the space is there, when the people are there to bring in that bigger sound, include everybody, it actually simplifies what you do as a musician.
And it's more special.
And it is more special. And all of a sudden, then the duos are special.
Yeah.
The solo shows are special. The trio
Nobody's
shows
getting over,
That's it. And so it keeps it different in the entire thing. Every time the sideshow gets together, it's a different night. It's not static. It's not flat. We push it every night. Because even if one of us is down and not, you know how it gets. Some nights you're just man, I'm beat to hell. I did this today, that today.
Yeah, because
it's now
we're not on Columbia Records, so most of us have to work during the day, and
we either have to work for the day or can't afford the drugs to keep us awake.
Right.
Pharmaceutically. But like it really is that, but in those moments, the other two then pick up that energy, and all of a sudden that guy gets lifted up. There's nights I've been like, man, I don't want to do this gig tonight, but I've had Craig right there with me, and it just pushes you, it drives you, it inspires you, and it just kind of puts you. So that's what the sideshow is. That's the mindset behind it. So when we cut this record, it was the four of us to begin with. And at the same time, I wanted that bigger sound for the record.
For the record, because most great records, people don't realize they try to discredit bands for getting other people on board. I'm like, well, first of all, most of the solo artists you listen to have at least 16 people playing on the record.
If you have the opportunity to play with other people, how do you not take the opportunity to play with other people?
And a record is so different because, I mean, you look at somebody like the Beach Boys, for instance. They had the entire Wrecking Crew playing for them on a big part of their albums. A record is the medium to get people to get invested in your group.
Anything out of Muscle Shoals.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You get people invested in your sound, they'll come see you live. Then you give them a different experience live. And then you get to see humanity.
And that's
in a complete different medium.
That's it.
So I'm glad you said that.
You know, for me, it was important to get the record the way I heard it in my head.
Yeah.
And even as much as I do it live, I'm restricted by the three instruments I'm playing at the same time. You know, I kind of tighten myself up, especially rhythmically, you know, on the drums. So to get the snares hits in there and to get the third and fourth beat instead of the 1-2, I can only, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was only, I shouldn't say there's only, because I love the 4-1-9.
Yeah.
Because the second people heard that we were going in, I had so many people like, hey, if you need anything on this, give me a call.
Yeah, lots of willing bodies, and they're willing to do it for free most of the time, which is awesome.
What I feel so bad about is so many of those people hit me up literally on like Sunday when we were just hanging out, and I'm like, oh, dude, we're done. And they're like, wait, didn't you start Friday? And I'm like, yeah, we're done. You know what I mean? We cut this.
Which again, it's unheard of.
Yeah.
You can follow us at jakepilewski.com. That's Pilewski.